Ben, when you start a new plan, all of your cards fall into one bucket. It's a default bucket called To Do, and you can see that here at the top of our column of cards. And as we add more cards, by the way, they'll continue to scroll off the screen vertically, and they'll all be under this same bucket until we add a new bucket. How would you guess we add a new bucket?
There's a big plus sign that says Add New Bucket.
That would be the pretty obvious answer. So yeah, so we'll choose that. Now in this case, because we're working on an event, we might want to separate out the tasks that are related to maybe the venue versus food. So let's call this the venue bucket. And then once we add that one, it gives us a choice to add another new bucket. So let's call this one the food bucket. And then there's another new bucket. Let's call this the staff bucket. And then it looks like we're done, but actually if we scroll over to the right, there is another add new bucket, and we could call this maybe agenda. So you can have as many buckets as you want, but it gets a little awkward scrolling left to right like that. So let's scroll back over to the left. Now I can add cards directly to each bucket. So if I wanted to add a card to venue, hire venue staff, we'll just leave that unassigned. So now I've added a card under the venue bucket. But I can also, if I have a card that's in another bucket and I want to move it there, I can just drag it. So I have this Decide on Venue card. I'll drag that over to the venue bucket and let go. And now that's been moved over. Now maybe as time goes on you realize that you don't need some of these buckets, or maybe the bucket has the wrong name. If you wanted to rename a bucket, so for example we have this To Do bucket, as I mouse over the title, you see I get a little ellipsis menu. I can choose that and choose Rename. And we could call this whatever. Let's just call this General Tasks, which is probably not that much different than To-Dos. So we press Enter and we save the new name. Now another thing we can do, you saw in that same menu, is we have the option to delete a bucket. Be aware that if you delete the bucket, it deletes all the tasks inside the bucket, and there is no going back. One of the big problems as we film this with Planner, just like with Office 365 groups, is there is no recycle bin. If you delete something in Planner, if you delete the plan itself, if you delete the group itself, everything inside is gone forever. There is no way to get it back. So be very careful of that.
Gotcha.
So in this case though, we do have this empty food bucket, so we could choose to delete that. It'll give us that warning. Choose Delete, and food goes away. Now one trick you can do, let's go ahead and add that food bucket back, and let's scroll over to the right, and we'll add a bucket called, I don't know, entertainment. Now it's up to you how you want to use the buckets and how you want to categorize it. I would recommend not having too many buckets, because keep in mind your cards are also sorted by who they're assigned to. You've also got the color-coded labels, so there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. But if you do have a lot of buckets and you don't want to do the scrolling left and right thing, keep in mind that in most web browsers you can hold down Control and press minus, and it'll make everything a little bit smaller. So now we can fit all of our buckets on one screen, but the text is a little bit smaller.
Gotcha.
By the way, on a Mac it's the same thing, but instead of being Control minus, it's Command minus. To make it big again, I do Control plus, and it's back to where it was.
Now Chip, if I'm changing things or if somebody else is changing things and adding buckets, will I get a notification?
So that's a good question. Generally no, not with buckets, but it is kind of unusual how you get notified from a plan. Generally, if somebody is replying to a comment that you've made, or if they're commenting on one of your tasks, you're going to get an email notification regardless. You can also choose to subscribe to the plan, which is down here at the bottom of the ellipsis menu on the top, and that will notify you whenever any change is made to the plan. So that's, if you want to get more emails and get more notifications about when the plan makes changes, make sure you subscribe to the plan that way.
Gotcha.
So subscribing to the plan is just another one of those tricks you can do to stay more in touch with your plan. In the next module, we're going to look at all the management features and reporting features you can use with the Office 365 Planner.
All right, let's do it.